Welcome to Backstage with Becca with special guest Donna Vivino. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Backstage with Becca. On this episode, she made her Broadway debut at only 8 years old when she originated the role of Young Cosette on Broadway in Les Miserables. Since then, she's gone on to book roles in shows like Hairspray, Saturday Night Fever, Fame Becomes Me with Martin Short, has been both the standby and lead Elphaba in Wicked on tour, the standby Elphaba in Wicked on Broadway, and most recently was playing Grizabella on the Revival National Tour of Cats. Please welcome Donna Vivino.
How have you been?
I'm okay, thanks. How are you?
Very good. All things considering, I mean, it's New Year. Looking forward to new things, looking forward to theater coming back. I mean, it's been tough without theater, as I think you would agree.
Yeah, sure.
You were beginning a tour, right, when this started, right?
I was out on the Cats tour, yes.
Yeah.
When it started. Mm-hmm.
And it had been like a month in or something.
Yeah, I had been doing it for 2 months.
Okay.
2 months, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's disappointing to have to stop doing a tour. Well, I want to get into that because that's a good role. But first of all, have you always known that you wanted to be a theater performer? And when was the moment you really realized?
I always sang and danced and was acting as a kid, but I wanted to be on TV. So I actually started out in film and TV. I was a child actor, and I actually started on camera. And I did not want to even go to the Les Mis audition at the time. And I still love being on camera. I love theater too. I mean, I love it all. But no, I wanted to be a performer, but I was really into film and TV as a kid. That was sort of my dream, to be doing that. And I did it a little bit, and then Les Mis happened, and then I wound up starting another career in theater as an adult. So theater is sort of where I've been mainly as an adult. But I wanted to be on TV. So,
do you think starting out in TV and film has helped you with theater in the long run?
No, it was so long ago because it was like, I feel like once you get established, yes, if I started out as an adult in film and TV, it definitely would help me in theater. But when you're a kid and you're a child actor, I think all that stuff is different, But I definitely think that if I had started out in film and TV as an adult, it would have been easier for me to decide I want to do theater, because for whatever reason, they just love to bring film and TV people to theater. Yeah. Only if you're really famous, though. But
the stunt casting and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I know we call it stunt casting, but there are super talented people that do film and TV who also can do theater. However, I think if you are established in theater, maybe it's changing a little more, but musical theater specifically, it can be quite hard to get those auditions for film and TV. There's sort of this, it's tough. It can be really tough.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So obviously someone knew that you could sing at a young age because you auditioned for Les Mis. When did you figure out that you could sing?
I was 2.5 years old, and I sang on TV. So literally at 2.5. Yeah, I sang on television. So I was always singing. It was always known that I could sing. It's just that I had just like this larger than life personality. And I was doing a lot of commercials, and
How did your parents or whoever convinced you to audition for Les Mis convince you at first? Because you said
I was auditioning like crazy, and I was supposed to do a play on Broadway, actually. And I just remember I was playing with my Barbies, and it just didn't sound interesting to me. Les Mis, like, what is it for a little kid? Les Miserables, it doesn't sound exciting. I started listening to the music, and then it grew on me, but I was only 8 years old, and I was listening to it, and I liked listening to some of the songs, but I don't know. It's hard to explain to someone that likes Barbies and Disney, like what this show is. And I just was like, ew, I don't know. I just didn't understand. I didn't really even understand the magnitude of what the show was or anything. So I remember the actual audition. I was like, I don't want to go. And I auditioned and then I forgot about it. And then 6 months later, I got a call back. And by then I had listened to the cast recording enough that I loved the show. But at first I just didn't really understand what it was. To me, Broadway was like fan kicks and this kind of thing. So Les Mis was sort of a new thing. There weren't really shows like that. So to me, it just seemed so, I would look at the pictures from the London production and it was like so dark. Everything was so dark. So I didn't understand it. So I was like, I don't want to do this. And did they convince you? They were just like, oh, just go, you get to sing. And I was like, okay, fine. You know, like it wasn't like anybody dragged me there. I just wasn't, I think I shouldn't say, I wasn't excited about it. That's a terrible thing to say, but like, how would I have known what it, you know, I just was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So how did you prepare at such a young age? Because you were 8 years old to make your Broadway debut. I'm sure that's scary for a kid.
No, I didn't know what it was. It was just a big theater. That's the thing. It's not, I don't think I understood the magnitude of what Broadway even was. I don't think I just knew, oh, okay.
You were performing.
It's a theater. Yeah. It was fun.
Oh, I love that. So
yeah.
Did you learn anything through being one of the youngest members of the cast that has helped you?
I was the youngest for a very long time because there were other kids in the show, but I was the youngest when in Les Miserables. I was the youngest one in the original cast. And yeah, I'm sorry, you were asking. I cut you off, but you said learn.
Did you learn anything from the cast, from your fellow cast members?
Gosh, yes. The way Trevor Nunn directs John Caird is everybody. I mean, granted, we had to leave sometimes to go to school with our tutor that was there. Yeah. So there were certain hours that we had to be doing school, but when we weren't, and the kids are, I mean, at least little Cosette, she's not in a whole lot of the show. She has her song and like 2 other tiny scenes in Act 1, and that's it. But we were sitting there and we would watch because Trevor, it's the same way Michael Arden works. When I worked with Michael Arden in Merrily We Roll Along, he works as everybody's always, even if it's a scene with 2 people, everybody's called to rehearsal and watching. And I really do feel like I took like a 3-month masterclass because then we did the show out of town in DC. I mean, yes, I actually think I learned everything about musical theater in those months in theater. Not everything, but I mean, the foundation was enormous. Think about it. You're 8, you're going to sponge everything up. It was amazing. And that cast, I mean, so talented. Every single person in that original Les Mis, and anyone who's done Les Mis, but that original cast, if you think about Terrence Mann and Colm Wilkinson and Randy Graff and Judy Kuhn, and then Anthony Crivello in the ensemble. I mean, it's everybody, you know.
Yes.
I got to watch all of them, and I was obsessed with every single person in the show. I thought they were the coolest. Like, to me, that's when Les Mis became cool to me, because I saw these, you know, they're all in like their 20s, and I'm like, they're so cool, and the girls are so pretty, and they're all such good singers, and they're all such good actors, and I was just in love with every single person in all of them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're like, I want to be them.
Exactly. That was my moment where I was like, I want to do musical theater. I was already in Les Mis, but I was like, I want to do this, you know?
No, I totally get that, because I was in children's theater, and like, as a child, you look up to all the adults, and you like. That was my children's theater. That was my community theater. I mean, that was it. It was doing Les Mis, and I try to explain it, and I don't say that to try to be like, oh, it was not. No, I didn't grasp the magnitude of like being in an original Broadway show. I didn't really have a concept of what that was. At that point, I had seen one Broadway show. And I had watched a couple of movie musicals like Grease, Annie, and West Side Story. That was it. Okay.
So, and I loved them all, but that was it. I wasn't like a musical theater nut yet, you know? So,
yes.
Yeah.
What was the most memorable experience from working on Les Mis? Because you got to do cool things like perform at the Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, the memory I have is just super cold. Yep. It was so cold because her costume is not very much, so it was super cool. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I would probably freeze to death if I was outside in the cold for that rain.
Yeah.
I'd be crossing my fingers for like a warm, like 70-degree day in the middle of November.
I know. No, it was a cold one. And it was super early. Like, I think I had to get up at 4 a.m. and because, you get there at like by 6 and then you have to do rehearsals and it was dark. It was still dark out. And it was like, whoa,
And your parents were probably dreading getting you up at like 4 a.m.
Yeah, I don't even remember. I think my mom and we lived right outside of the city in New Jersey, but I think we stayed in a hotel the night before.
So you'd be close by.
Yeah, exactly.
So when was the next time that you got to perform on Broadway? How long of a break was it? Did you take between Les Mis and your next time?
I was 21 years old the next time I was on Broadway. Yep.
How different was it versus being?
Well, it was super different because I was an offstage person in that show too. Like, I was an offstage member of the company, so I wasn't on the stage every night, but I was singing pit vocals. Which, oddly enough, Saturday Night Fever had pit vocals, and Cats also has pit vocals. So it's like you're sitting with the orchestra and you're singing. There's a couple, Phantom also has it. There's only a few shows that have that kind of thing. And then some of the people in the pit cover roles on stage, but I never really actually went on stage in Saturday Night Fever. I was an offstage singer. And I was still in college. I was going to college in New York City at Barnard College. I hadn't really been auditioning at all in my teen years or in my college years. And then, but this came up and I went and I got it, which was like really shocking. I mean, I didn't think much of it. And, at the time I was like, whoa, I got another Broadway show. Okay, cool. But I was like thinking about going to law school. I wasn't really, yeah. So I was doing that. And then I'm like, oh, wow, I think I want to keep doing this. And then I didn't get, I took a couple of years to get, people think like, oh, once you get a Broadway show, you just go from Broadway show to Broadway show. And that's just not true. But there's been other shows in between. I mean, I do a lot of regional theater and tours, and that's still work, and it's still great work. And in terms of theater. So, but yeah, that's sort of, I was 21 and I graduated college. Like I think I went to the theater in my cap and gown that day to do the matinee, and then went back and returned my cap and gown.
And 21, when you think about it, is still a young age for someone to like be on a Broadway stage. And I feel like there's probably more pressure. You probably put more pressure on yourself at that age.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing too and I wasn't the youngest. There was a 17-year-old in that cast and a 19-year-old. It was a very young cast, so I was not the youngest. However, I was super intimidated suddenly, and I had a kind of meltdown / panic attack because I'm like, wait a minute, I have not been training for this all these years, like everybody else in this show. I didn't go to a conservatory. Do I have what it takes? Not realizing like, well, you got in. You got into this show, but I couldn't see that. I just thought, oh my God, I fooled everybody. I don't belong here, So I definitely had a lot more insecurity then.
And yeah. I know people know your name. Like, I know when people like say your name, they're like, oh yeah, she's from Wicked and she's like an amazing Elphaba. But between then, like before Wicked, you did pretty much everything in between, like, any stage roles. You did like understudy and standby, I think, before Wicked too. And you were standby.
I never was the understudy for Elphaba, so I was a standby, and then I played the role full time. So the understudy is in the show in the ensemble. I could never do that part because I don't dance like that. So the Elphaba understudy, there's a standby, and your job is to go on, and the standby always goes on first, and then the understudy is an ensemble member who covers Elphaba, and sometimes other roles, but they have to like dance, like really dance. And that is not in my skill set. I can dance, but not like that. Like I guess I was grateful to just be a standby and not have to deal with, doing all that ensemble dancing. I was like, oh gosh. Yeah.
I noticed a lot of roles though, because you were in Hairspray
Yes. Too. And I did dance in that, but it's a different kind of dance than Wicked,
Yeah. So you did understudy roles in Hairspray?
Yeah. Yes. That was when I think I understudied like 4 roles at one point. Yeah, and like I barely ever went on because they were roles that's when I was understudied, and there were standbys for all those roles. So I was like the second cover on all those roles. So I would be at rehearsal every week for a different role. And I think one of them I went on a bunch, but and then because I covered Tracy, the female authority figure, Velma. There was talk about me possibly covering another role at some point. Was it? Yeah, no, that was it. That was all I covered. And so it was 3 roles. But Tracy has a standby, like Elphaba does, and they go on first. Their whole job is just to be there to go on. The female authority figure and Velma, I was 20 years too young because I was, in my early 20s, 20 years too young to play those parts. And so there was an offstage cover, a standby for those 2 roles. But lo and behold, the very first time I went on in Hairspray on Broadway, it's kind of a cool story. I opened the first national tour, which was really exciting because we all rehearsed for an hour. Oh my gosh, my brain. We all rehearsed for a month. I sound like
I'd be impressed.
Yeah, no. We rehearsed for like a month, maybe even longer, in New York together, and that was amazing. There's a reason why I said hour. I'll get to it in a minute. But and then I did that tour for almost a year, and then I left the tour, and I was living in Los Angeles. I was like, I want to get back into film and TV, and I was there working for Ben Affleck and Matt Damon's company at the time, and I had only been there a few months, and then I got a call saying, do you want to go do Hairspray on Broadway in New York? Same part that I had done on the tour in the ensemble, but going to New York. And on tour, I only covered Tracy, nothing else. I was the second cover for Tracy, and I went on maybe twice in the whole year because it's a second cover, right? So I didn't cover the older female roles. And they said, this track in New York City, you're going to cover Velma and you're going to cover the female authority figure also eventually. I said, okay, cool, fine, whatever, sure. And they were like, okay, so you would start in like 6 weeks or whatever. I'm like, okay. So I had given my notice, and I was going to leave LA in about 4 weeks and then be in New York for 2 and then start my rehearsals and then go into the show. I got a call 3 weeks later, and it was the stage manager of Hairspray in New York City. He said, Donna, it's Frank, and I had never met him. I said, I'm the stage manager over at Hairspray. Where are you right now? I said, I'm in Los Angeles. And he said, are you able to get to New York quickly? And I said, what's going on? He goes, well, we probably will. He goes, we have to start teaching you the female authority figure, which is that, I don't know if you know the show, but she plays Penny Pingleton's mother. She plays the gym teacher. It's a great part. It's lots of comedic, short, funny characters. And he said, we have to start teaching it to you, as soon as you can get here. We have a lot of people out. There's just a lot of sickness going through the cast. There's somebody else is on a leave doing a TV pilot. He goes, we're down to 1 cover in the building for that part. And he goes, and I'm just not comfortable with that. I'd like a second cover. He goes, she won't be out. I mean, but just in case. So I was like, okay. So I had to like pack up and just leave. And I flew back, and on like, I think he called me on like a Friday, and I flew back on Sunday, and or maybe even, I don't even remember, but I just remember it was a Wednesday morning. They immediately put me on contract, and I went to a rehearsal studio, and it was Frank and the dance captain, and it was a Wednesday morning, and I was learning the part, and they're like, so I'm learning the part, and I don't know anybody in the company. I'm at a rehearsal studio, and the matinee is going on, and I'm still learning it, and he gets a call at like 1:00, and he's like, oh, you're going on tonight. And I was excited. I wasn't scared. I was like, awesome. And then I'm like, what am I going to wear? And they're like, you're going to run over to the theater. They'll put something together for you. You're going on tonight. It was like being shot out of a cannon. It was the best. I felt like a rock star, honestly, because it was a great way to join a company. I made my Broadway Hairspray debut as the female authority figure, and there was a lot of improv in that character. he was like, you don't have to do any improv, and I did tons of improv. I went for it. I didn't care. I had a blast. I mean, they never expected I'd have to go on. They said, we'll teach it to you, but you won't even, you probably won't even go on. And then I was on that night. And I don't remember if I did more of those, but I went on for that. I wound up going on for that character a lot after that. For some reason, I think I just had the opportunity. Velma, I never went on for. And Tracy, I was leaving the show. I had been in the show on Broadway almost a year. I was leaving to go do 2 other shows. It's a long story. Wow. And the stage manager came to me a month before I was going to leave, and she goes, do you want to go on for Tracy? And I said, I don't really care. Like I said, I was like, I don't have to. I did it twice on tour, and I think I was terrified to do it because I think it's an extremely hard role. I think it's harder than Elphaba in so many ways. And I also didn't feel as connected to that character. I think she's very sunny. I think she's so positive. And I think I'm a little more like Elphaba. I think I'm a little more of an introverted pessimist, unfortunately. I try to be a little, but Tracy has got a Glinda quality about her, right?
Yeah.
She's just very full of life and light. And it wasn't a natural fit for me. And I had to wear a suit, and it was uncomfortable to wear it, like a little bit of padding. And I was like, I don't know. And she goes, and then Sigmund goes, I want you to go on. You've worked really hard all year. You're at rehearsal. And I was like, all right. So she gave me 2 shows, and I'm so happy I did. It was wonderful. I got to go on with Tyler Haynes, who was an understudy also. We talk about that show. It was a magical show with me and Tyler, because he and I had been, we just were really good friends too. And that was, anyone who saw that show was like, that was some Tracy Link magic, because our chemistry was like, we were like best friends on that show. So our chemistry was like, and I'm so happy I did that. So that was sort of my story with Hairspray, and Hairspray gave me a lot of confidence in my comedic abilities again, and my ability to dance and move, in terms of that Jerry Mitchell style, which is very aerobic. It's different than like Wicked, which is like Mia Michaels,
The little ballroom dance thing, the little like swaying of arms.
I don't even know if I remember
it. I haven't seen it in no, it's been like a year and a half since I last went and saw Wicked. So,
yeah, I don't know. I forget it.
Like.
Yeah. That was fun. It's really the lift. People get lifted in the air when they're dancing, and I don't want anyone to lift me in the air. I would feel bad for them, because I'm such a klutz, and I would probably mess up my center of gravity, and then they drop me, and I'd be all embarrassed. So, yeah.
I'd have to plus more.
Yeah. So I always I had forgotten that story, but my entrance to Hairspray was really, really incredible and magical, and I loved being in Hairspray. It is such a fun show to be in. It's like so much positive energy and important messages. It's just a good show. Really good show.
I wish it would come back to Broadway like this.
I know. I think that, who knows? I wish Broadway would come back first. Then we can talk about what shows are back. So.
Yes. A show like that is needed, though.
And not just Broadway. When people talk about Broadway coming back, theater. I keep saying theater because there's other... I know that Broadway is sort of like the flagship of theater, but there's great theater happening all over. I did theater in the Philadelphia area last year, and I've done stuff in California, and there's this great regional theater everywhere, and I want all theater to come back.
Yeah, there's so much in LA too, and I don't think people realize that.
Yeah. Are you in LA?
I'm normally based in LA. So when you mention improv, I'm like, oh, okay, so she's like doing improv like kind of like the actors that I've seen at these shows in LA, like the cabaret shows in LA. When I
moved to LA after Hairspray, I was working with Groundlings. I had just started, and then I got the Hairspray call, and I was like, well, a paying job, and I'm an actor. I'm gonna go back to New York, I guess. New York sort of called me back. But then I got heavily into, I did the show at Martin Short on Broadway, which made me, and then I got heavily into, and then I was supposed to do Legally Blonde, and then all these things, and then I wind up doing Wicked instead. I was supposed to be in the original cast of Legally Blonde, but scheduling didn't work out. And then I went to do Wicked, and when I finished doing Wicked, the first thing I wanted to do was get back into comedy and improv. I needed it's like I was like enough of like the despair that is Elphaba and the high belting. I was like, I want to just do comedy, and I did. I did UCB for like a year. It was amazing. I did like all in New York. So yeah, and I miss that. I miss improv a lot too. I know you could do it virtually, but it's not the same.
It probably builds your confidence more and more, even like steadily. Like you said, it built your confidence while you did Hairspray, but it's probably since, even when you do it like when you've done it recently, your confidence.
Yeah. Anytime you challenge yourself and and just it's a good confidence builder. I think. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no.
even playing a role like Elphaba vocally was a confidence builder, because now I'm like, I can do anything vocally. Yeah. I mean, but I really can't. I know I can be healthy and do, because Elphaba's like, it's how there's like extreme sports. It's extreme vocals. It's extreme athleticism, vocally speaking. So I had to really learn about my voice and learn how to handle my voice and learn, how to not destroy it. And so I think I'm not saying I can do anything. I just meant to say, like, I became an expert on my own voice in a way that has served me since.
How did you do that though? Because like I was listening to audio last night, and it's no mystery that audio's online, I feel like, but I was listening to like audio of you singing last night, and it's so effortless. Like it's like it just happens naturally for you.
No, I mean, listen, I've always been a natural singer. I didn't take singing lessons until I was 26. Once again, back to Hairspray. I started to have some vocal trouble in Hairspray. I was losing my voice a lot. Started to learn my technique was not as great as I thought, and I trained. But I was a late bloomer. And if I hadn't, and I trained for a couple of years, and then by the time I was, by the time I got Elphaba, I was 29, and I was ready, because I had been training for like 2 or 3 years with Hairspray. So yeah, that saved me too. Mm-hmm.
And from what I've heard, your voice like matures as a singer in this industry when like in your late 20s.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had learned that a lot of opera divas debut, especially the mezzos, they'll debut in their 30s, because the female vocal cords are completely calcified by age 35. So yes, I mean, 30s is like primo time vocally. I mean, and 40s. I mean, if you're healthy, you're healthy. I think of Ann Wilson from Heart. She sounds amazing still. She's in her 60s. I want to sound like her. I want to do what she's doing. I think she had classical training. So that's why I am a big fan of training, but not training that someone is going to change what your voice is. Like, you still want your natural voice, your free voice, your sound. As you can tell, I teach now as well. But I always want people to still make sure that they're honoring what their voice is. I don't ever think that like people should all sound a certain way, but I think you should have choices. Yeah. Like, oh, I'm going to approach this way. I want to sing this role this way or that way. But it all comes down to health. It sounds effortless.
It really does.
Was it? You said that? I don't know. I don't think it was effortless. But thank you. You said it sounds effortless. I don't know about that, but thanks.
I listened to Defying Gravity, and it just sounds like, wait, what? How does that happen like so naturally for her? How does she hit like the high notes so effortlessly and like at the end, at the climax?
Practice.
It's insane.
It's not very, there's no trick. It's just a lot of hard work, and practice. Yep.
And you were on the road for like, I read 20 months on tour.
Okay. I did 8 months as standby. Then I did a year in the role. Then I had 6 weeks off, which is not a whole lot of time. And then I came back and did another 9 months.
Wow.
So is that, I don't know if that's 20 months, but it's more.
Like
well, it's 20 months in the role full time, plus 8 months standing by. But if you're talking about the role, yeah, I did it for way too long on tour.
Did you keep tally of how many shows you performed in on the tour?
I never did a tally. I should have. And on Broadway, I was on all the time. So I never tallied it. I'm really bad about that. I'm not a show counter. I'm really bad at like getting pictures from when I was in a show. I'm just the worst. Even social media lately, I've like not been posting. I can get so caught. I'm like caught up in a Netflix show. I'm teaching right now. So, and my son. So sometimes I just get distracted, and then I look back and I'm like, oh, why wasn't I chronicling that? But
probably
I was in the moment. I was in the moment. So,
and it's good to be in the moment. You have visuals in your head still.
Thanks, Becca. I like that.
You probably did well over 1,000 shows, and I'm sure someone online has a tally of how many shows exactly you did on some Wicked forum.
I bet you I could email company management and ask them. They probably could look it up in a database, but I never did.
Most likely. How did you keep from getting tired performing Elphaba that much, and how did it keep exciting you from day to day? How did a role like Elphaba?
I was always tired and I was always resting. So it's an Olympic athlete kind of role. It was how do I make sure I have enough energy to do it? I didn't have much energy for anything else. I was always sleeping or resting, or preparing or getting my body in a place where, Pilates, warming up, water, all those things. So the physical exhaustion, I was always actively working at. I never worked at the mental exhaustion, and I probably should have. I think if I were ever to do it again, I feel so much more confident in my abilities now that I would make sure that I still am socializing enough and having fun. And it's hard because you don't want to talk outside of the show, so you don't go out and talk with everybody, and everybody's out in loud places and whatnot. But I would have tried. Man, it would have been great if Zoom was a thing. I would have been right. But I got really good at texting. I'm like the fastest texter in the world, I think, because I would just talk to people via text. But I never got tired of playing the part, though. Like in terms of when I was on stage, how do I keep it fresh? I don't know. I never felt stale with that part because that role just keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was okay with that. So
how do you think you made the role your own when you first started playing the role versus when you got to Broadway and played the role?
When you first learn a role in a show that's already running, you're really learning paint by numbers, stand here, go here. Nobody's really talking to you about characterization or anything like that. It's literally, you have 2 weeks, and it's literally here's this, here's that. Because I started out standing by, which a lot of people do, by the way, because they kind of sometimes, I kind of knew when I was coming into standby that it was a strong possibility that I was going to move into the role. I had just come off working with Martin Short, and I had one audition for Wicked, and the associate at the time knew me really well, and he knew my work, and he just worked with me, and he was like, "You'd be great, Elphaba, stand by for a little bit." Because I think they also needed to audition me more as standby, give me a whole week to go on. Can she do it for a week? And so I don't know. I feel like making it my own is always an interesting question, because I feel like I don't think I actively ever tried to make something my own. I never imitated anybody else, but I stood by for Carmen Cusack. I watched her a little bit, and then I would shut my monitor off because I didn't want to start imitating what she was doing. Not because she's not amazing. What she was doing was great, and some of her choices were very interesting. But if I tried to be Carmen, if I tried to be Adina, and I'm a natural impersonator. So if I listen to somebody too much, I start to do it like them. So I have to shut that down. If I started to adopt Adina things and Carmen things that were not really Elphaba things, but their stuff, I think I would have really failed because I never would have been them, because no one's going to be me. There is only one you, and that's everybody's secret weapon is their uniqueness. That's everybody's secret weapon. And I say weapon in the nicest term, but you know what I'm saying? That's what gives you that. Everyone's like, oh, how do you have star quality? I'm like, I don't know if I believe in star quality, or if I just believe in if someone is just uniquely them and they just do their thing, that is a star, right? And so I don't know. I mean, on tour, when you're standing by, it is a little harder to quote, try to make it your own. You're still okay, am I standing in the right place? At least at first. Once I had a couple shows in a row, I was like, okay, I know I'm starting to get to know her more. You have to get to know your character. It's like when I do regional shows, I feel like it's the last week of the run. And I'm like, I know this character now. And then it's time for 10, you know? So, but by the time I went to New York, I really knew Elphaba.
Did you get freedom, like, from the people who were, from the creatives of the show as a standby to kind of bring yourself into the role?
There's no real, you know, you learn the show from the stage manager.
Okay.
Especially when you're the standby. There's not a big, I got to tell you, there's not at least for me, there was not this big discussion about like, you have freedom of this, and that. I mean, yeah, I think so. I think once they know that you can handle the role, that you're hitting all the notes, that you're standing in all the right places, then of course, yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Nobody ever made me feel stifled or that I couldn't do what I needed to do. I think I just did my thing, and then if the director or the associate director came in, they would maybe give some notes and steer me in whatever direction they wanted. But nobody ever said to me, you have to do it like this. And nobody ever said to me, you have to make sure you make it your own. That was never a discussion. So whatever they did it well, I think. So
yeah, I think so too. And they still.
I never felt stifled, and I also never felt like pressured to be somebody else. So that's a good thing.
I'm really curious because you said that you're more like Elphaba than you were like Tracy, because Tracy has like she's always happy Glinda quality. So how do you think you're like Elphaba specifically?
I don't trust a lot of people.
I mean, it's hard.
I don't trust a lot of people, and for them, and I think that humans, I try to see the good, but it's hard for me sometimes. And I just think I tend to be more cynical. She's pretty cynical, and she's a bit of a realist, but then she's also a bit of a dreamer. Yeah. Because I'm not that girl. Don't dream, don't start. That song is so me, right? So, and then she's just like, she also like can't control her temper sometimes. And I'm not like, I don't have like a big temper, but I sometimes can be a little reactive and emotional and just like, well, I'm done then, whatever, you know? And then I regret it, of course. I really relate to her. I always have. So.
And I mean, it's a family thing now, apparently, or it's getting to be a family thing because your sister is was currently playing the standby on tour. Did you give her any advice when she booked the role of standby, like you? Yes,
I told her, like, whatever you do, don't compare yourself to anybody else. Standbys can do that a lot. They can be like, I'm not as good, or I'm not. I never did that, but I really didn't. I always felt like Carmen's awesome. I feel confident too. But I had also like had 3 or 4 Broadway shows under my belt already. So I think I had a little more. My sister, this is her first like union job even. I mean, it's incredible. She's so talented. She got it like so young. And I just said to her, whatever you do, just keep reminding yourself like, because I thought, like, you know, remember when I told you I was in Saturday Night Fever, and it was my first Broadway gig as an adult. It was my first professional gig as somebody over 18 at that point. So really, it was on stage. I felt like, what am I doing here? And nobody was there to remind me, but you're here. You've been chosen, so you belong here.
You're talented.
And that's what I just said to her. I said, whatever you do, like, and don't go online, don't read chat rooms. Doesn't matter. Everyone's going to have a stupid opinion. And if you believe all the good stuff said about you, you have to believe the bad stuff. So don't even bother to look. And so I said, just, you know, have fun, enjoy it. You know, it sounds so cliche, but it's true.
And I feel like the nice thing about most theater fans is that like, especially Wicked fans, they're coming back for like the 50th time to see the show.
Yeah.
They're coming back for the 50th time because they like seeing different people on, and they like seeing how different characters. Yeah. So it's like, they want you to like put your own spin on it and like not be a carbon copy of Idina.
Yeah. But I don't think Natalia or I ever thought we had to be a carbon copy. That's just not something I think that people feel. At least I don't. Maybe, you know, I don't know how people early on felt right after Idina. I don't know how the first 3 or 4 Elphabas or how they felt, you know, being, because I don't feel like I'm filling Idina. I never felt like I was filling Idina's shoes. It was 5 years into the run when it opened on Broadway that I came into the show on tour, and that's enough time, I think, for the memory of Adina. It's not that it's distant. I mean, it's Adina, but it's not. People aren't coming there expecting that, So.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to wrap up on Wicked because I want to get a little into Cats before you have to go. So I have to ask, when was the first time you flew in Wicked, and what was it like? Was it scary?
No, it wasn't scary at all. And I have never had a no-fly show. I think I'm the only Elphaba. I think I'm the only Elphaba who's never had a no-fly show, and I really wanted one just because it feels like a rite of passage.
Yeah.
Never had a no-fly show, and then if I was ever out for the night, like if I was sick or just on a personal day, like Meredith I would find out, like my standby Meredith would be like, I just had a no-fly show. It's like every time I was out, like somebody else got it, and I wanted one because I was like, that sounds so fun. You run down stage and sing it. I don't like doing Defying Gravity, and it's not because I'm afraid of heights. I don't like singing on a small I don't like singing I don't like singing in the apparatus that I have to sing in. Now, Cats, I had to fly in a harness.
Yeah.
And that was so fun. I'm not afraid of flying. I love it. I think it's super fun. I didn't have to sing though while I was doing that. I like to fly. I like to sing Defying Gravity. I don't like to do the two together.
It's just a lot of pressure, it seems like.
It's a lot of pressure. You know what? It's a lot of pressure for me because you have to run back there and you have to get in. It's very technical and you have to get yourself in. And I was always terrified that I was going to do something wrong. And I would sometimes, I'd get the skirt tangled up or I would do something wrong. And then I'd have the stage manager being like, what happened here? Why couldn't you get in? We could see your feet. We could see your feet. And I'd be like, I was trying to belt. Stop. I have no time. So.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I want to quickly cover Cats because you were playing Grizabella for 2 months in Cats. And how was it different than playing Elphaba? Because you only really have memory at the end. Mm-hmm. So is that like a lot less pressure?
Yeah. I mean, well, yes and no. It's a lot less pressure because it's like Elphaba, it's lonely in a different way. Like Elphaba's lonely, even though you're on stage all the time, like you're kind of alone a lot, or people don't want to talk. Like you don't get to interact with the ensemble very much. It's kind of a lonely part in a way. Grisabella's the same way. Like nobody wants to touch you, nobody wants to be around you. It's lonely. And then when you're backstage, like everybody's on stage most of the time, so there's nobody to hang out with, which is fine. There is pressure though because you're singing Memory. And you have one chance. So it's like if I did Wizard and I had like a bad Wizard and I'd be like, I got like 50 other songs. You can win the audience. I'll be fine. Right. And if Memory, it comes toward the end of the show, everybody's waiting to hear that song in the audience.
Yep.
And I felt more pressure with that in a way. Because everybody's like, how's her memory going to be, right? But gosh, I loved singing that song. And I had never seen Cats before, and I had never really, I'm really sad I didn't get to do it longer. I was only supposed to do it for 6 months. So I got to do a third of my run. So that's nice.
Yeah, that's nice. I was going to ask, would it be a role you'd want to come back to in the future?
I would love to, but it's going non-union now. So we'll see.
Hopefully eventually it goes union again so that
I would love to do
more audiences can get the chance to see you perform in that show.
Absolutely. I would love to do it again. Really. I was having a blast. I loved doing my own makeup too. I didn't get to do that for Elphaba. And there's something real. Every cat does their own makeup. It's always been a thing. And you know what? It's such a beautiful ritual to like put all that on. And I'm really bummed to close.
To master?
You know what? You learn it. They teach you it once. You take a video of you. They do it for you, and you have a video of it, and then you practice and you do it, and you get better and better at it. It's fun.
See, I feel like it would be like streaks all over.
Yeah, everybody thinks that way, but honestly, it's fine. They don't need it to be perfect either. You know, you're on stage far away. They want you to have your own touch on it. Like there's certain things you have to do, but like you're supposed to have your own like take on it. You know.
Wait, I actually don't know this, so I want to ask real quick: does Grizabella come out at the beginning and like in the audience or no?
So in Andy Blankenbuehler, choreographer from Hamilton, also choreographed the Cats revival. He in the revival decided, let's have a baby Grizz, and you have to do the opening number. So once again, I had to like dance, but I had to jump into Cats so fast. Yet again, it's sort of the theme of my career, isn't it? That, you know, they were teaching me like the opening number, and it's really not easy. Cats dancing is really hard. And I learned it, and I worked it, and then I got, like, I had been in the rehearsal room for like 4 or 5 days, and then we went to Boston. I went to Boston, and they had like 5 other people they were putting in the show with me, like dancers. And so we're at the rehearsal, and Austin, our dance captain, is there, and he's watching me, and then he comes to me the next day. He's like, so you're going to come out, you're going to do only this part of the dance, then you can go off stage. And I was like, I'm that good, aren't I? And he was like, he says, no, honestly, we just don't have time, because I learn it more slowly, because I'm not a natural dancer. So they just didn't have enough time to work with me and make it look better. And it wasn't as important, I guess. So, yeah. So, yes, she does. I did have to come out in the opening number and go into the audience and all of that.
Did you get any like weird reactions, like anyone who didn't know at all that like the Cats were circling the audience?
Kids, I mean, I don't know. Some people are like, I really want that cat to look at me, and then you look at them and then they're like looking away.
Yeah, like, what?
Yeah, it's such a strange little show, but it's 40 years old and people still love it.
Yeah.
So something about it appeals to a lot of people. You know, we were sold out in most of our cities for the rest of the tour. We were on our way to Montreal when we closed, and we were completely sold out there, and I wanted to be there so badly. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. So, yeah.
I mean, I was going to say you might not agree with this, but it was because the audiences heard that you were going to be singing Memory.
Oh, no.
And they were like buying tickets.
I think it was sold out before I even came into the run, but thank you.
I mean, I would do that, but I'm that theater fan that would be like, oh, she's singing Memory, I'll be there.
Oh, you're very sweet, Becca.
So what's your dream role in theater right now?
You know, I used to have like none, and now I have several. I would love to do Heidi Hansen. Yes. I just did. See, now I'm a mom, so I'm like going into mom parts, and I really loved playing Diana Goodman in Next to Normal. I did that in 2019, and it was one of the best things I've ever done. I would absolutely love to play Heidi Hansen. I want to play Francesca in Bridges of Madison County somewhere.
Ooh.
And I want to be Mary Jane in Jagged Little Pill. So there are 3 very different kinds of roles, but I want to do all of them. And I actually really also wanted to play Sandy in Tootsie on the tour, but it's going non-union now, which is a comedic role. So those are like the top 4.
But there's like 3 roles that you mentioned that are like the tearjerker roles.
And then there's Sandy and Tootsie, because I have to make people laugh. It's like I really think like I need the comedies in my life as palate cleansers, all right? You know.
And before I bring up what you're teaching, how do you work on self-confidence in this industry? And like, what do you tell your students to help with their self-confidence?
Yeah, I mean, I really think you got to lean into your uniqueness and don't compare yourself to other people. It's so hard. You can be inspired by others, but I encourage them not to, like, sometimes I'll see, like, someone will say, like, oh, wow, they did that song and it's so much better than me. I'm like, yeah, you can't think that way. You should be like, okay, I'm a work in progress. I would like to work on this or that. I mean, it's so hard. I mean, we put ourselves out there as actors and singers, but I am so inspired by all the young people I've been working with. I mean, I just, you know, I spend 6 to 8 hours a day working with young people on Zoom every day since like March. I was actually working on Zoom while I was on Cats before the pandemic.
Fun.
I had students working with me over Zoom. I knew what Zoom was in 2019. So yes, I should have bought stock in it then, but I didn't think of that. But I knew what it was, and I was using it on tour because I couldn't be in person with some of my students. So. Yeah, and then I opened my company, which is Broadway Unlimited.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, and it's been really successful. I'll put it in the. I had it there before when we came in. I was like, what?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, can you talk a little about like how that came about and like what like made you want to open your company?
Well, I had another company that I did. I had opened in 2018, and it was called Journey to Broadway. And we did it was a 1-week summer program. That's all it was. And I had a business partner, and we did it for a week in the summer, and it was super successful. And then we did it again this past summer on Zoom for a couple of weeks, and it also was successful. But I wanted to continue working on Zoom, and my partner really doesn't like that medium, and it's not for everybody. She wants to be in person and would rather wait. And I said, well, I'd like to keep doing it. And she's like, well, then open your own company. And so I did.
I love it.
And that's it. Yeah.
And it must be so great to like watch your students who are like, especially the consistent students, grow and grow over the months.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have a program on Sundays that it started out invite only, and it was 6 weeks, and they spend 2 hours a week with me, and I have guests come in as well. And I'm in my third or fourth round of that now. And it's now I've started accepting auditions for it, and I'm just blown away by how many. It's for teens and middle school. How many of them want to be there, are showing up, they're killing it. They really are. It's incredible.
It's probably what they look forward to right now, to be honest.
I hope so. I hope they're not like, oh, I have to go see Donna now.
So where can people like find more information on Broadway Unlimited?
So it's Broadway-Unlimited.com, because that's the domain I could get. So you got to put that dash there, Broadway-Unlimited.com. You can get information on there about it, about what we have going on. And there'll be more stuff. Everything right now is up and running. And then I'll put out some stuff for early spring. But also like I'm hoping that we can get back in person soon.
Yeah.
But we'll see, maybe by fall. That's what I hope.
Speaking of that, what are you most excited for when theater does come back in person?
Rehearsals.
Really? Okay. Because it makes you bond with your cast, probably.
Rehearsals. Being in the rehearsal room with people and playing and exploring. That's what I miss. I miss the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can picture everyone crying the first night. Like
Yeah, I wish I had a show that I was like going to. That's the other thing. I'm like, am I ever going to work again? I mean, I feel like every actor feels that way right now. Am I ever going to work? Even people in shows are like, am I ever going to? But I'm like, well, you have a show at least. My show closed and it's going non-union. So I'm like, am I ever going to work again? I don't know.
Well, lastly, is there anything else that's in the works for you that you want to promote? And where can people follow you on social media?
Okay. Every Sunday, almost every Sunday. Sometimes I take off now. I mean, I just got over COVID, and I'm doing great. I feel better than I did before I got it, to be honest. And nobody believes me when I say that, but I really do. I feel healthier now, having beat COVID, than before. And I don't know if it's that my body or if it's all the vitamin D and the sleep and maybe taking better care of myself. Probably that. But every Sunday I was doing an Instagram live show at 1 p.m. Eastern time. You can find me on Instagram Live. Please come. It's called Latte and a Prayer. And I usually have special guests. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm just on there and it's me, Q&A. Sometimes I sing, sometimes not. But I took off almost a month because I was, sick and then recovering. So I'll be back on again Sunday, the 24th. And yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wait, I'm like, what day is it? So it's this coming Sunday.
Yep, I'll be on again. I don't have a special guest this Sunday, but I've had Annalise Scarpacci came on and sang, and I've had lots of wicked people come on and talk and hang out with me, and it's really fun. So you can find me there as well if you want to talk to me live and ask me questions. And I don't know, I even had this wonderful Orion Doherty, is a 16-year-old boy from the UK who kept sending me videos of him as Elphaba, and he's amazing. And I had him on, and he sang Defying Gravity. So I have a lot of young performers come on too and share their talents. Clark Bishop from Texas, she came on and sang a Rihanna song. She was amazing.
Love that.
So maybe I'll even call one of my students and say, "Come on and sing this Sunday." Yeah. So I love to promote young talent and let them have their voices heard as well.
I mean, they deserve that. That's amazing.
Yeah. So you can find me there, and you can find the website Broadway Unlimited, or you can email broadwaywithdonna@gmail.com or info@broadway-unlimited.com. So there's a couple ways to find me, and I'm at Donna Vivino on Instagram and Twitter. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Well, Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Becca. Thank you, sweetheart. So nice to meet you and talk to you, and thank you for reaching out and inviting me on.
Thanks for watching this episode of Backstage with Becca B. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV. Or for more exclusive content from this interview and more, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Backstage with Becca B. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video. Or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!